This video will cover lab safety training. The training covers the minimum lab safety training requirements for anyone enrolled in a lab. Please note that there may be additional safety requirements for a specific lab. Your lab instructor will notify you of any special equipment or procedures that are not outlined by this safety training. First, I would like to acknowledge the individuals who helped contribute to this training. Biology graduate students Bethany O'Neill and Casey O'Neill assisted myself, Callie Price, in making this training material. First, we'll cover lab clothing and protective gear. Personal protection equipment, also known as PPE, includes safety gear such as gloves, goggles, or safety glasses, a lab coat. There may also be special gear needed for a specific lab. PPE is used to help protect your body, skin, face, etc. against hazardous spills and splashes, as well as for helping avoid direct contact with biohazardous or chemical materials. Lab dress code. The following dress code is intended to help keep you safe while in the lab. No open-toed shoes are allowed, no shorts, no loose clothing, no loose long hair. You may be required to wear safety glasses and a lab coat. Emergency equipment and procedures. First, we'll start with the eye wash station. Labs where toxic chemicals are used must have an eye wash station. If a spill occurs in the eyes, the chemicals could cause permanent damage to the tissues. Prevention is key here. It's very important that you wear your PPE, including your safety goggles, lab coats, and gloves, when handling things such as materials that could cause damage to your tissues, including chemicals and biohazardous materials. If a chemical spill were to splash in your eyes, immediately access the eye wash station and rinse for at least 15 minutes, holding your eyes open. Notify the instructor and they will call for emergency medical assistance. You can click and watch the following video that will demonstrate how to use and assist someone in need when using an eye wash station. You may also scan the QR code and it will give you a direct link to watching the video. Fire safety. Each lab room will be equipped with a fire extinguisher for small fires. This is typically located towards the front corner of the room, close to the lab door. Evacuation routes. If there is a fire in the lab room or building, do not attempt to exit the building using the elevator. This is extremely dangerous and you could become trapped. Use the nearest stairwell to exit the building. Your specific lab room will have an emergency route posted. Electrical safety. When plugging and unplugging electrical equipment, always grab the base of the plug to prevent breaking the cord. If you notice a frayed electrical cord or corrosion on your plug, do not plug it in and notify your instructor immediately. Biological hazards. A biological hazard is any biological material that poses a threat to human safety. Sources of biohazardous material include bacteria, viruses, fungi, plants, animals, including humans or others. When handling this biohazard material, always wear your PPE, including gloves and eye protection. Make sure you use the biohazard waste container, as you see here in red, when disposing of biohazardous materials. Depending on your specific lab, there may be extra precautions needed when handling these materials. Your lab instructor will provide further details for a specific lab if extra handling steps or precautions are needed when handling biological hazards. Fume hood. Some labs will be equipped with a fume hood. Fume hoods are used to protect the user and lab environment from exposure to toxic fumes, vapors, or dust. MSDS. This stands for Material Safety Data Sheet. You may also see this displayed as SDS, Safety Data Sheet. This is a cataloging system used to document chemicals and other hazardous materials used in the lab. The MSDS will have proper usage, handling, and spill procedures for a certain product. The following video will give you an introduction to the MSDS label symbols. Note, your lab instructor should always notify you at the beginning of each lab how to properly handle chemicals or other hazardous materials. You may also scan the QR code in the top right corner to watch this video. Spill control. If you are to spill any substance in the lab, first you should notify your lab instructor. Your lab instructor will assist in helping you wipe down the area with cleaner and paper towels. Extra precautions and procedures may be needed for specific chemical or biohazard spills. Remember, always wear your PPE, including your gloves, and eye protection and lab coat when handling chemicals or other hazardous materials in the lab in the event that a spill occurs. This protective gear will be your first line of defense and help reduce your exposure. Broken glass. If you are to accidentally break glassware, such as a beaker, test tube, or slide, first you should notify your lab instructor. Never throw glass away in the regular trash can, as this could cut someone when they lift the trash bag to take out the trash. The lab will always have a designated glass disposal container to dispose of broken glass appropriately. The next part of this video will cover special COVID-19 precautions that you need to take when entering and exiting the lab, as well as how you should handle your equipment in the lab. Before you arrive to lab, do not come to lab if you are sick or feeling ill. Before you arrive, wash your hands with warm, soapy water before entering the lab. You must wear a mask before you will be allowed to enter the lab. If you arrive without a mask, you will be asked to leave the lab room. It's very important that if you're feeling sick, please stay home to avoid exposing others to your illness. Room capacity limits. To encourage physical distancing, there may be a limit on how many total people are allowed in the lab. Each lab room capacity limit is different. Your instructor will let you know the specific capacity for your lab. There should also be a sign posted next to the lab door before you enter the room. We are also required to keep a seating chart for each lab. Each lab is required to have a designating seating chart for every student in lab section. You must sit in your assigned seat for every lab. This is very important. Every lab seating chart is unique. This is just an example, like you see here in the picture on the right. Your instructor will notify you regarding your specific assigned seat. Entering the lab. Before you arrive, make sure you are wearing a mask. Put gloves on as soon as you enter the room to reduce cross-contamination when touching equipment and sharing materials. Sit in your assigned lab seat. This video will demonstrate the steps that you should take when entering the lab room. You can click here and/or scan the QR code and it will give you a direct link to the video on how you should properly enter the lab room. Sanitizing your station. Before you begin, each person that enters the lab must sanitize their work area before and after use. Do not assume that someone has sanitized your station before you arrived. Additionally, if the lab is using equipment such as a microscope, you will need to sanitize the microscope before and after. This video will walk you through how to sanitize your work area. You can also scan the QR code in the top right and it will give you a direct link to watching this video. Instructor assistance with a microscope. If you're having trouble viewing things through your microscope and need assistance from your lab instructor, you and the lab instructor will need to sanitize in between each use. This video demonstrates a scenario of what the student and lab instructor need to do to sanitize when sharing a microscope. You can click the video here or scan the QR code and it will give you a direct link to this video. Procedure for exiting the lab. When you are finished and ready to leave the lab, there are a few things that you must do. First, sanitize your equipment. Then, sanitize your workstation. Dispose of trash and properly remove and dispose of gloves. Sanitize and wash your hands after leaving the lab. This video will walk you through these procedural steps for exiting the lab. You can also scan the QR code in the top right, and it will give you a direct link to watching this video. That's it. This is the end of your lab safety training. Remember, don't forget your mask and stay safe, Texans.